Hi, I'm Will Saris. I'm a voice actor who's always been interested in the intersection between history and entertainment. And what better person to embody that than P.T. Barnum? Welcome to the Barnum Museum. This is Who is Barnum to You, a lively discussion that celebrates personal connections, insights, and inspirations drawn from Barnum's life, or maybe not so much. One thing for sure, everyone has an idea or opinion based on fact, fiction, fun, or just plain imaginary nostalgia. Today, we're going to talk to Kathy Maher, Executive Director of the Barnum Museum, about what inspired her to join the Barnum Museum. How did she get here? Let's do this. All right, thanks for sitting down with us, Kathy.
Thank you, Will. So happy to have you here.
It's really fun to be here, and it's fun to ask you about P.T. Barnum, who is just a crazy figure that is kind of so unknown that, you know, I think it's great what the museum is doing.
You're absolutely right, and it's funny, for all the years that I've been here, everybody's got an opinion about P.T. Barnum. Whether it's right, whether it's wrong, whether it's made up, people seem to say, oh yeah, P.T. Barnum, and a memory triggers. And it's kind of our job to welcome people in, to really kind of discuss, well, what does that mean? And that's what I've been doing for over 20 years, and it's sort of exciting to be expanding through this new platform for the Barnum Museum.
So let me ask you the first question, which is, you said you've been doing this for about 20 years. Where were you before, and what brought you to the Barnum Museum?
You know, it's funny, way back in the day, I'm actually a New Yorker. Family goes back to New York, for centuries. And so I grew up studying New York history. I mean, my playground was the Museum of Natural History in New York. Nothing transported me to another place than when I stepped into those diorama rooms. You know, you could still do that. So it's still magical to me. And not thinking when I was 8, that was it was a profession that was available to me. You know, it was just instructive entertainment. Sort of always carried that with me. Fast forward through college, you know, I'm the product of SUNY, go SUNY Cortland Dragons. And then graduate school, I did go to NYU. And it was a program that had me at the Metropolitan Museum of Art for over 3 years. I had the incredible fortune of working at the Costume Institute at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And I know people are thinking, yes, I did get to go to the Costume Institute Gala. You know, before it was this Hollywood thing, it was a big society thing. It was very exciting. I worked on the Napoleon exhibition, got locked in the museum once, and I never really had P.T. Barnum in my headlights. And I got a phone call from the curator of the Barnum Museum in Bridgeport, and I sort of knew about it, but I didn't know Bridgeport history. I'm a 19th century historian, and I didn't know much about Barnum, just like everybody else. It's like, oh yeah, you know, Barnum, really? And they called me in for an interview. He was retiring, and I'm like, well, I don't know. I came, and I actually turned the job down. I was like,
what could have been?
I was like, oh, maybe I'm not a good fit for here. The museum was it was a fantastic building. I was just totally attracted by the gorgeous architecture. But inside, it was all very white and modern, and there weren't many artifacts, and there were no stories, you know, and I'm a story person. And it turned out the museum was interested in, you know, changing up the interpretation. I'm a trained curator, and I was like, ooh, that's interesting. So I said, all right, let me consider if I'm coming in to be the person to make the change. That's a learning opportunity for me. And I said, I gotta know who P.T. Barnum is. So I was going on a little mini vacation to Las Vegas. Might as well give Vegas a little shout out. And I brought Barnum's autobiography with me to read on the plane. And I cannot tell you how many laugh out loud moments I had 30,000 feet up in the air on an airplane trying to explain to the people around me, sorry. And I was hooked. And I just couldn't stop reading as much as I could possibly find and read and pull the Barnum Museum collections. What is here? The material culture, making the connections between an object and its moment in time. And I've been going on this ride for 22 years here now, and I am still learning, and I'm still finding more. And I say to people all the time, P.T. Barnum has been dead for over 100 years, and he is the only man on this planet that still exhausts me at the end of it.
That's crazy. So I want to get to the big question, which is, who is Barnum to you? Because that feeds right into that. He exhausts you, so he's that. But who is he to you?
He does exhaust him. He is the ultimate innovator, thinker, fearless crusader of making people joyful. It's unbelievable. His history has been taken out of his control. When he was alive, he was born in 1810, and I always tell people, think about 1810 America.
Yeah.
Napoleon is still alive.
Right.
Jane Austen is still writing. You know, I mean, he's a very early figure in American history, long before the industrial age, you know, gripped American growth, you know, so he's the author of that, and he wasn't afraid of it. And he worked tirelessly to find the new, engaging curiosity that he could share with the world. And when I say the world, I mean the world. He became a traveler, you know, in a time when it wasn't like booking a plane ticket, you know, let's face it, you know, it's a 2-week journey across the Atlantic Ocean and back. So it's a time when society was emerging into a new moment in our civilization, the industrial age. And he embraced everything he could possibly embrace. Did that answer your question?
That answers my question. I was just going to say, when you think about it, 1810, I think Sturbridge Village in Massachusetts is 1830.
Yes.
And when you think about that as being the context for P.T. Barnum, and I know we have the other, you know, production on the video of the fact versus fiction of the movie.
Yes,
when it really
people can
dates
go to
him
that.
too late.
Yeah.
You know,
let's link that
back
below.
him up. Yeah, he's really early.
He's really early.
So what the next thing I guess would be, when you got here, what inspired you about his story? Like, what really was it? I mean, you were laughing, and obviously you said he's an exhausting person to learn about. Was there anything that inspired you about his life?
His incredible philanthropic heart was something that captivated me, and as I read more and more and more, I had no opinion of him being good or bad. As a historian, you don't do that. You
Right.
look at, you know, objectively at the whole story, and any good historian could make both cases.
Right.
But I slowly came to like him. That there was a lot of good that he did that continues with us today that people don't realize. That I said there's a respect that he deserves that the 20th century did not give him. And I'll tell you why. And I will give John Strasbaugh, New York Times, the shout out on this, because he said it. We were in a cab doing an interview. And I said, what happened? And he said, Barnum wasn't there anymore to guide his brand. When he died, there was nobody there to hold him up the way he did. Right. So the 20th century moved on, the idea of circus moved on without him. People also don't know that he was retired when he started The Greatest Show on Earth.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
He was
60s,
61.
Right. Yeah, 61.
And so he already had a life. He had a brand long before that. And it was never, you know, Barnum's Circus. It was always The Greatest Show on Earth, because it encompassed everything Barnum. Always went back to his museums. And that's fascinating to me. And most people that I talk to, thousands of people, when they hear how early he is, that he dies in 1891,
right.
They're like, really? It's like, around in the 1830s and 40s. I went to the circus in 1940, and I'm sure he was, you know, and it's like, yeah, no, that was all different.
Like I said, everybody kind of places him late because he really is such a visionary person who, you know, changed so much. And yeah, that's fascinating that's kind of what inspired you is his story. Like you said, with everything else, you're a story person. It's his story that kind of pulls you in.
And there's a great quote, and I cannot remember who said it, but when you know somebody's story, you can't help but love them.
Right. Good and bad.
Good and bad.
You know, and with Barnum especially, failures as well as success. He failed and lost his fortune twice, right?
He failed time and time again, and his truly the phoenix rising from the ashes. He was even depicted that way in Harper's Weekly, I think it is, Barnum the Phoenix, that he would come back from multiple fires. A lot of people don't realize he's one of the founding members of the New York City Municipal Fire Department. They were little isolated things.
Two fires.
It's no joke that our Barnum Museum today, that he designed and intended, it's terracotta. It was fire rated. That was intentional. But everything that he did was calculated. Everything that he did was thought out, was planned for a reason. And it had to have been exhausting being him.
Right.
And somebody told me once, it's like, I think Barnum would have liked you. And I went, I never thought about that. I said, I hope he would have.
Sure. For all I know, he would have, exactly, because I like you, Kathy. I got a couple questions now about the museum itself. So what's the biggest thing that you wish people knew about this place?
Oh, that we're here. The Barnum Museum exists. Connecticut is filled with phenomenal heritage sites, cultural places, historical societies, museums, and we are, after you see this building, we are just about one of the most recognizable.
Oh, yeah.
After you see this building, you know that it is part of the fabric. What's fascinating too is we're barely an hour out of New York City. We're an easy train ride. We're on the I-95 corridor, so we're easy to get to. I want people to come and have the opportunity to really take a look at the full breadth of Barnum's story. Understand that it's not just this one little path, that he had a life filled with struggles and triumphs. And so many of the things that he left behind, the entertainment industry, the attractions industry, is really from the heart and soul of Barnum's American Museum that opened on New Year's Day, 1842. Every time you see a performer, every time you watch a reality TV show, that all comes from Barnum taking that concept and making it an art with the technology and the stuff he had available to him in the 19th century. And people loved it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a thing too. It's like, he was in every newspaper. That was his intention. And he never felt bad press hurt him. Bad press was press. People during his lifetime wanted to see him. He was his own greatest curiosity. And the 19th century loved him a lot more than people realize. He was part of the culture. He was American pop culture.
What's the thing that surprised you most about P.T. Barnum and his life?
The thing that surprised me most, I don't know if it's surprise, but enlightened, maybe. I think what enlightened me the most about being here, and it started early on, was how connected so many people are to the Barnum name. And always wanting to share their story with me. Let's share these stories with the world. So creating Who's Barnum to You just seems like a natural place for me to put that enlightened, feeling I have whenever I hear how Barnum somehow has triggered a memory, inspired an action, whatever it might be. And hopefully this is gonna sort of put it out there for other people to share, and they can share in the comments, and we can keep this program going. And honestly, at this point, we have got well over 100 people who are interested. Oh, I'll talk to them. I'll come on that, So let's do it, right?
Let's do it. Let's do it, certainly. So thank you for being here, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much, and I'll leave everybody with the museum's mantra. Barnum's quote in 1886, he said, "The noblest art is that of making others happy." So I'm telling everybody to spread the word.
Who is Barnum to You is produced and directed by Rui Pino, Will Saris, and Tom Victor, with special thanks to our special guests. Please don't forget to subscribe to the Barnum Museum channel That helps the museum out a lot. Click on that thumbs up and leave a comment down below if you enjoyed the video, or if you want to make a suggestion for a future show. And if you can make a charitable donation to the Barnum Museum, please do so. That helps us bring you new episodes. All the links are in the comment section below. Don't forget to live Barnum's missive. The noblest art is that of making others happy. See you soon.